Experiment Nation. If you landed on this session, chances are you're looking to make a change in your career. Maybe you want to get into CRO or experimentation for the first time, or maybe you're just looking to upgrade into a role that's a better fit for you, whether that's monetarily or even philosophically. No worries, my friend, you have come to the right place. Totally nuts, but you can definitely land a job in CRO or experimentation with little to no direct testing experience and not have to compromise on pay or what's important to you. Being good at the job, that's a whole different story, but landing the job itself, you've got the goods, my friend. How do I know that? I know because I've done it several times. But first, you're probably like, who is she? And who is she to be giving me any advice about this? Totally fair. I'm Tracy Laranjo. You may recognize my sultry voice from Experiment Nation, the podcast. I've identified as an experimenter for the last 3 years, and like most other optimizers that I've met, I fell into it accidentally after gaining full stack digital marketing experience like paid media and email. Since then, I've run various product and marketing experiments and A/B tests for some pretty awesome direct-to-consumer businesses like Inkbox Tattoos. And ultimately, I've experimented in 2 in-house roles, and now I manage several clients at a specialist optimization agency called Splitbase. I've learned a lot about how to land a great job in CRO in the last 3 years while rapidly increasing my salary and developing a highly in-demand skill set. And because I get asked quite often how I managed to do this, I'd love to share with you what I've learned along the way. Now, don't make me regret sharing my tips by getting so good at it yourself that you steal a job opportunity from me. So let's get right into it. First off, if you'd like to explore freelance work or self-employment, sounds awesome, but I can't really help you there. However, I can help you land a sweet job if you're a current or aspiring web optimizer or product experimenter. You'd like to have more, better, and faster job offers. If you desire a values and philosophy alignment with your employer, and you seek on par or above market rate compensation for work you're proud of. Honey, you have bills to pay and dogs to put through college. You deserve the best if you're willing to put in the work. And I will do my best to help you get there. Now, there are a few things that you'll need to have a successful job hunt. Fortunately, the must-haves are free. So in terms of must-haves, you must have a commitment to learn, a willingness to fail, and the self-confidence to be who you are unapologetically. Like experimentation in general, this is an iterative process. You will get better the more you do it, and it also gets easier because you end up preparing a lot of the same materials and interview responses over and over again. You also have to be okay with rejection and have the confidence to stick to your principles. If you walk into your job hunt like the job is yours to lose, that confidence does go a long way. Just don't border into arrogance, stay humble but confident. In terms of nice to haves, there are some other things that aren't really necessary but can only help you in your hunt. First off, I acknowledge that there is a lot of privilege in being able to walk away from a bad fit. But if you can do it, do it. Trust your gut, always. I'll share some red flags to look out for in just a bit. Now, if you have prior experience in CRO, that will really help you with your credibility, but there are other things you can do to demonstrate that you have both the dedication to learn on the job and you always have valuable adjacent skills to offer. If you don't have a lot of followers, that's okay. Social media presence helps for credibility, but it's not really necessary. And lastly, I found that having a mentor in experimentation really helped me level up on my learning so much faster. However, a mentor can definitely be difficult to find, so it's okay if you don't have one, but definitely think about seeking one. All right, let's get into it. First things first, forget everything you heard about job hopping. Job hopping, if you aren't aware already, describes people who switch jobs every 1 to 2 years, maybe even less than a year. I've wasted years being so self-conscious about working at 7 different organizations over 7 years, not realizing that it's what's actually made me an in-demand hire. I obsessed about it all the time and about how bad it must look on paper. Will I stop getting job offers? Do they think I'll bail early? Will my employer resent me for leaving? Or I'm not happy where I am, but I have to wait at least a year before quitting. If that sounds familiar, Please stop right there. You owe it to yourself. If your current employer does not empower you to bring your best, support your personal development, or pay you what you're worth, it is okay to dip if you find a better opportunity. You may also have no idea what you want out of your career, and that's okay too. Trying a lot of different things early on will get you closer to that clarity, just like it did for myself. And yes, many jobs, including those in experimentation, have long onboarding periods. How could you possibly bring value in 1 year if it takes 6 months to get up to speed? That's totally fair. But on the other side of that, in my experience, in-house employers specifically typically have no idea how to support CRO or experimentation hires. So for example, failing to allocate sufficient resources like developers, copywriters, and designers. No wonder optimizers are better off going elsewhere. Before you jump ship though, identify what isn't working for you and make an earnest effort to make it work. You can learn a lot from your current situation. That said, if you're undervalued or you're not leveling up at the rate that you could elsewhere, don't worry if you haven't been at your current job for long. I've left a job after 7 months because I quite simply could not do my best work in the excessively political environment with no resources, and I have never regretted that decision. Now, in the last 3 years as an experimenter, I've landed an interview for 100% of the 7 jobs I applied for, with 4 out of the 7 applications resulting in a job offer. Even the job offers in which I was asked about my shorter tenures, I still got an offer. This has never stopped me from landing jobs in the past, and it will not stop you. My upskilling gave me the confidence to even turn down one of my 4 job offers because I sensed it wasn't a good fit. My point? I was able to build in-demand skills quickly, get really good at job hunting, and grow my salary due to strategic job moves. Speaking of which, let's talk about compensation. I managed to increase my compensation over the last 3 years by 60% and by 3 times in the last 7 years. Now, I firmly believe that salary transparency is necessary for ensuring pay equity for women and other underrepresented groups. But that said, the day I share my exact salary publicly is the day I'm my own boss and no longer need to worry about being lowballed by an employer. All that I want you to take away from this is that strategic job moves became the difference between taking home minimum wage in my early career to living a financially secure lifestyle in a short period of time. Just know that you will see the benefits of stepping away from jobs that no longer serve you as long as you make the moves with intention and not just when you're bored. But hey, if you found yourself in a job that pays well and you love it and everything's great, congrats. Hold on to that as much as you can. To know how your salary lines up with other experimenters by country, job title, minority status, and gender, you can check out Experiment Nation's 2022 CRO salary report at experimentnation.com. Now, to actually stand out from the competition in CRO, you have to be clear on who you are and what you want out of your experience. If you don't have it all figured out from the get-go, that's totally okay, but at the very least, you need a sense of direction so you can position yourself appropriately. There are a lot of different ways you can specialize in CRO. Start by reflecting on the kind of work you enjoy. Ask yourself, do you like conducting user research? Do you enjoy analyzing data? Are you good at coming up with test strategy and ideas? Do you like working with a lot of stakeholders? Or are you naturally gifted at copywriting, designing, or coding? Think about these things. Know what your strengths are and definitely roll with them. And if there's something that you have an interest in that you're not great at now, it's okay to also approach that as well. Know what you like and know what you're good at so that you can lead with your strengths. When you apply for work that aligns with your interests, employers pick up on your enthusiasm. And this can, at the end of the day, be the difference between opting for one candidate over another, even if you're not currently the most skilled for the job itself. Next, figure out what kind of experience you want. That's to say, do you want to optimize in an agency environment or do you want to go in-house? I've optimized at both agency and in-house environments. I might be biased, but I can confidently say that agency is better resourced, and there's something really nice about having like-minded teammates who are passionate about the same work and speak the same language as you. I also found that in-house optimization is pretty poorly planned for, and oftentimes you have more work to do in the way of establishing processes and getting buy-in for resources like developers and designers. I think a lot of businesses hire CRO in-house without much further thought toward what it takes to actually set up the new hire for success. And even in particularly political environments, you may also end up with a testing roadmap that's dictated by whatever the C-suite wants that particular week. Not empowering or likely to produce impact. If I could do it again, I would have gone agency first to learn the ropes, but that is just my personal preference, and ultimately that's your decision. There are many resources out there that speak to the pros and cons of each environment, so I definitely encourage you to seek those resources as well. At a philosophical level, you always want to know what it is you actually stand for. Optimizers and experimenters are very passionate people with a very diverse set of opinions, so know where you stand on key issues, or at least immerse yourself in the discourse around hot topics like testing to win versus testing to learn, radical versus revolutionary redesigns, and best practices. This will show prospective employers that you understand the nuances of test design and strategy, and also that you give a shit. That's super important as well. Next, know your non-negotiables. Are you willing to build a testing program from scratch, or would you rather work on one with processes already in place? What about compensation? You want to have 3 numbers in mind for your compensation, or at least this is how I've approached my job hunts in the past. First, I get the number I think I'm worth. Don't forget to check out EN's salary report if you're not sure. Next, I'll have my wow number. This is the number that you're secretly hoping for, and it's the number that you want to lead with and then negotiate down if the employer did not budget enough for that number. Now, a little note on that. Don't show your cards first. If an employer asks for your salary expectations, say you don't have enough information to commit to a number, which is true, but you would definitely be interested in knowing the range that they budgeted for the role so you know if you're in alignment. If they ask for your current salary, just run. Totally, just get out of there immediately. This could be a sign that they want to pay you less than you're worth, and in some regions, it's actually illegal to ask this information of job candidates. You should also know the lowest compensation you're willing to accept. If you have the financial ability, drop out of the running if the employer can't meet this number. Don't waste their time or your own time. You may find, though, that some perks are more important to you than the money, and you can use these in your negotiation if you can't get to the salary that you want. So we'll get to this later on, but definitely think about the perks that are important to you. For example, are you willing to accept a lower salary for full health and dental benefits? Are you willing to work for an employer who wants you in an office? I'm not, so I immediately disregard jobs that are not 100% remote friendly. Point is, get clear on what matters to you most. Next, at a minimum, you need to prove that you're actually able to do the job. But if you really want to increase your chances, you need to have some tangible proof that you have what it takes to be awesome at the job. It's imperative that you show, not just tell, what sets you apart from the competition. I'm not a fan of unpaid work. I'll come out and say that. However, I'm pretty sure my unpaid work has been the launching pad for some of the biggest salary increases I've had over time. If you truly enjoy the work, you may feel a desire to branch beyond the scope of your day-to-day and express yourself. To prove you're competent enough to land the interview, you can do some pretty basic things like documenting past test results, like big learnings you've discovered over time, any revenue gains that you've directly accomplished, conclusive test rates, and any other stats that you can show that you can bring results. You may also want to pursue courses like the CXL CRO mini degree at a cost, or you can write the Experiment Nation CRO qualification exam, which is totally free. If you want to take it a step even further to reinforce why the job should be yours, you can do a few things. First off, you can build your network with other experimenters to learn about hidden opportunities and also get someone to vouch for you in your job hunt. You can document your learning journey on LinkedIn or Medium to show your progression over time. And this personally was how I stayed competitive, which I'll speak to in a moment. Also, if you're invited to do any guest posts or host a webinar, absolutely do it. It's a great way to build your backlinks so that your search term is as favorable as possible. Plus, it gives you tangible evidence of your knowledge. And you can also express your philosophies on LinkedIn or Medium to build trust and influence. So someone who I think does this really well is Shiva Manjunath from CRO. He's an outspoken advocate of testing to learn. And I asked Shiva how his platform helped in his daily work life, and he mentioned that it was much easier to gain buy-in on ideas that may have faced resistance otherwise, and to continue proving the value of experimentation on the job itself, and not just on the job hunt. So here's my learning journey as an example. I volunteered to host interviews with experimentation experts on Experiment Nation, the podcast. This experience was huge. It helped me meet other optimizers with so many benefits, like being able to ask experts the questions that kept me up at night so that I can learn through my toughest on-the-job challenges. It opened doors to meeting other knowledgeable experimenters. It helped build my backlinks on Google. We ranked high on GoodPod's top 100 indie business podcasts, which is a great feeling to have. It landed me on Camille Yoon's list of top influencers in A/B testing for 2022. I gained a mentor throughout the experience, which was probably the most valuable win out of all of this. And I also felt great giving other people a platform to share their own knowledge and philosophies. I really believe that this experience specifically helped me stand out from the competition in job hunts. It gave me the ability to be picky about which offers I pursue and accept. And it also really helped justify why I'm worth the top of the salary range or even beyond what was budgeted for the role. And I definitely recommend that you consider doing the same for yourself if you're feeling some sort of creative inkling to put your passion into practice, or just even to express yourself, learn something new, and meet a lot of cool people. So now that you've built your rep, you know how to package your goods. There are so many resources out there to help you write a good resume, but instead of rambling about that, if you're on a medium where you can see this slide, here's a preview of the resume format that has landed me my last 2 jobs in conversion optimization. Big takeaway here is to focus on what sets you apart from other optimizers competing for the same role. Don't be shy about linking out to any content that you're proud of, and really focus on your achievements and skills that are directly valuable for CRO work. Next, you want to make sure that you apply to opportunities that are a good fit. You gotta be thoughtful and you gotta be intentional. Please, I beg of you, do not spray and pray. Unless you are in dire need of a job right now, please stop applying for jobs that you're actually not into or moving forward with roles that are not a good fit for you. You deserve so much better. For example, I myself find that data analysis is so stressful because I'm prone to analysis paralysis. That's why I sought a role where I would have an analyst to support me. Also, keep an eye out for red flags. Some red flags that I've mistakenly ignored were jobs where I have to wear all of the hats. I gotta do test strategy, design, copywriting, data analysis, research, you name it. CRO is not a one-person team, and you will burn yourself out if you try to be one. Also, look out for signs of overly political and unorganized environments or egocentric leaders. This is likely to impede your ability to run a smooth testing program if you don't have the skills to gain buy-in through influence or navigate chaos. And another one to look out for, and this is not just limited to CRO, is the infamous "we're a family" line. If you see this on a job posting, run immediately. Do not look back. This is an organization that will take advantage of you financially and have little regard for your time. It also really helps to reach out to the hiring manager after you apply. This will draw attention to your application. You don't have to be a stalker. One short message will suffice. I recommend including a very short introduction on your skills and experience, a heads up that you applied, how you heard about the job, so you definitely get bonus points if it's through a referral, and ultimately why you're interested in that job and that organization specifically. If there's a nice values match that you anticipate, definitely call that out and speak to it. That is special and that is important. If you're in this session on a visual medium, here's an example of the email I sent to my current employer. I went from application to offer within 48 hours, and this is probably my favorite job and team of my career so far. So feel free to take some inspiration from what you see here. So you've put all that work into landing the interview. Do not mess it up now. It may sound counterintuitive, but I found that the more you believe that the job is already yours, and the more you recognize that you are interviewing them as much as they are interviewing you, the more success you're likely to have. Why is that? Like, that just doesn't really make much sense. Okay, so what I found was your confidence will reinforce that you aren't willing to settle for just any old job. You are looking for the right job. That is very hot. You won't ace every interview, and that is totally okay. But what I found is that you need to prepare at a minimum the following things to own the interview. You have to do your homework. Research the organization. Go beyond their website. Check out recent press features, use LinkedIn to see who works there, and learn about their products and offerings. If it's an agency you're applying to, research their clients and case studies. What do they specialize in? Do you see yourself thriving there? Next, you'll want to prepare an elevator pitch. This is what you need to describe yourself in a few short sentences. They will ask you about yourself, so have this information ready. Also have some stories lined up that illustrate your successes. So for example, what's an insight you found through research that led to a big learning about customers or a positive test outcome? When working with stories, I like to follow the STAR format: situation, task, action, result. That will help you take a very long-winded story and chop it down into what was the problem, what did you do about it, and what was the result that your action had. Lastly, have some really thoughtful questions prepared. Don't just make up some random questions or Google a list of questions that interviewers like online. Interviewers can smell the bullshit from far away. Ask earnest questions. For example, what testing and analytics tools are already in place to support me in this role? What internal resources are available to support testing? Are there analysts? Are there developers? How accessible are they? Picture yourself already in the job. Anticipate the questions you'll have. And don't forget to thank your interviewers, preferably within 24 hours of your interview. This does show a lot of thoughtfulness and gratitude and interest in the role. Lastly, be yourself. This is highly dependent on the culture of the place you're interviewing for, but you don't have to be stiff. I've sprinkled in profanity in some interviews when I sensed it was okay to do so, and still got the job. I'm not advising that you drop F-bombs in your interviews, but I hope what you take away from this point is that it's totally okay to be a human, and it's okay if you seem nervous. Interviewers are people too, and many of them actually themselves are nervous. That's totally okay. So you've made it to the end of the interview process, and hopefully, regardless of the outcome, you at least get some closure. The worst outcome is the interviewer ghosting you, but hey, we've all been there. So if you landed the offer, big congrats to you. Be sure to celebrate because you earned it. Now don't get too excited because you should always negotiate the terms of your employment. This can include your compensation, benefits, perks, or any other details where you and your employer can strike a balance where you both win. You should know the compensation by this point. If you're underwhelmed with the offer, please speak up. Here are some scripts that have worked well for me during negotiations. First off, I always show gratitude. It goes a very long way. And definitely renew your excitement in that offer. Show how stoked you are. Next up, you can say something like, according to my research on market rates for optimizers in my region with the same years of experience, I am worth about X dollars. Can you meet me closer to this number? If there's little wiggle room, but you still want to accept the offer, you can also consider negotiating other benefits like additional weeks of vacation. What matters is that you enter this new phase of your career feeling valued. If you don't, it's okay to walk away for a better fit, assuming you can afford to. If you didn't land an offer, hey, congrats anyway. You can take this as an opportunity to ask for feedback on how you can improve next time around. It's also important to reflect on what you did do well so you can carry that forward. What would have made the job a better fit for you? Now you have a better sense of what you want in your next move. And lastly, like any great experimenter, you have to iterate. Each iteration brings you closer to success. It's okay if you don't get it right on the first, second, or 15th time. Just make sure you remain intentional in your search and keep learning from the past. So that's it. Hopefully you've made it this far and you've learned from my mistakes and you found it valuable. But if you'd like to get in touch with me, you can message me on LinkedIn by searching up Tracy Laranjo. Also, SplitBase is always looking out for great experimenters, developers, and designers to join the team. So if you're interested in a change and like to work with some really cool direct-to-consumer clients in a optimization-only environment, check us out at splitbase.com or email me at tracy@splitbase.com. Unless you're selling something, then stay out of my pristine inbox, please. Thank you so much for listening and happy job hunting.